Hi everyone, Raphael Harry here, and you're listening to White Label American, a podcast where we hear stories from an immigrant or two, sometimes more. Thank you for listening and enjoy the show. Okay, welcome to another episode of White Label American. I'm your host, Raphael Harry. I'd like to give a shout out to all our people out there, people on the front lines, making life easier for those of us who aren't on the front lines, everyone who's contributing to finding solutions to problems out there, and our people fighting for our civil rights, sending love and our appreciation to each and every one of you. Today's guest is a special person who I've been trying to get for some time now, and I am happy that she's finally here. So she has a background that's come in different phases. At one time, she was in the art world. Another time, she was in the she was a diplomat, I will say, right?
In the diplomatic world.
Yeah, in the diplomatic world.
Yeah.
And I'll pause for a little bit because I'm leaving the audience with guessing what the next world she's in, where she's currently based in. And that world is education.
Exactly.
And I bet most of you were like, what? How did that happen? And that's what we're about to find out. So, without much further ado, I introduce you to Kathrin who's a versatile professional with a wide variety of experience under her belt. And I won't dive into where she was born because she's going to tell us about that and how she ended up in New York and give us the whole juice. So I'm not spilling any juice. But she lives in Brooklyn and she does a great job, and she represents a part of the education world that we don't always get to talk about or appreciate, because we have somebody who I consider a villain out there. So she tends to put a negative light on this part of the educational world. But it's good to hear from someone who's doing a good job, doing something positive with this part of the educational world. And by that I mean private schools. So, and the villain I'm talking about is Betsy DeVos, for those who don't understand. So, yeah. So, welcome to the podcast. Kathrin, how are you doing today?
Hi, Rafi. Thank you so much for your kind introduction. I'm doing pretty well, and thanks for having me here today.
Oh, bitteschön.
Gerne. Danke.
So, can you, for someone like me, I had both public and private education back in Nigeria as a child and into my teens. And so I got to experience both sides, and they weren't always the best, I would say. But I took the best out of both sides because I wouldn't be here. And for you, growing up as a child, what was your experience on the educational side? Like, what impact did it have on you?
Well, this is a very individual experience, I would say. I mean, I grew up in Germany, and in Germany you have a really great education system, I would say. You know, it's also accessible for everyone. It's for free, starting in elementary school, going up to college. But I have to say that my personal experience in schools was not always the most pleasant. So where do I start?
Start from the elementary or primary.
Yeah, I mean, in elementary started with having a teacher, and this is also a very crazy experience that was actually kind of I felt like he was kind of racist, and also like he had like elements where he would treat people didn't treat people very well, like students in our class, who came from other countries, and there weren't so many because I grew up in a little village.
What city was that?
That was close by Munich, but it's a little town,
What's it called?
It's called Marxheim.
Marxheim.
And he was an old guy. He was the head of school back then. So my first year started with kind of, not enjoying school so much. Like he was very strict. We were afraid of him also, and that's how my school experience started.
That sounds similar to mine. Being afraid of
teachers. Yeah. And later on, I only had this teacher for 1 or 2 years, but that was kind of my first experience in school. And then later on, I have to say, I personally didn't enjoy learning so much because also of the environment. Sometimes I felt a lot that the curiosity you brought to the table, or also your personality, wasn't really, brought into the educational system. So you had to function in a certain way also. It was also all very traditional teaching back then. And I grew up in Bavaria, which is also a more conservative state in Germany. Yeah, and this was my experience, and this is what I always thought should be different, because learning, and this is what I saw later when I had my own child. It was always amazing for me to see how easy children learn and how they soak everything up naturally, without you coming in and telling them what to do, really. But I think what is most important is also that you provide an environment where kids feel comfortable, where they can also show their own personality, and where you also differentiate and let them develop in a way which is appropriate for their age and for their own spirit.
Yeah, I can speak to that because I'm a dad. My daughter will be 2 years in a few weeks, and I've been noticing that it's a journey, and compared to my growing up, there were the first things that I learned during my time were languages with the kids who were playing around me. And before I was probably 4 years old, I was speaking about 3 or 4 languages.
Wow, that's amazing.
But the memories that I have of back then were people always complaining in my household that I wasn't speaking English good enough. And that seemed to be what they kept focusing on. And why is his English not good? His English not good. He should be speaking English. And they did not realize that every time I went to school, it was only English I spoke. I did not speak any other language.
Wow.
But as a child, you're not able to articulate that. But there was that code switching that I was already doing. But as soon as you got to school, because if teachers caught you speaking any other thing other than English, you got whooped. The cane came on you. But the memories, you have the memories still.
Absolutely, and they stay with
friends,
you.
But at break time, then we switched to whatever language the kids around were speaking. Then
you spoke that.
Yeah, I spoke that, and then, but with time, due to all the beatings at home and all the stuff, and then we moved to a different state and city where none of the kids around me spoke, and nobody in my family spoke any of the languages. And my family, people spoke the language that I was speaking, but nobody spoke them to me.
To you.
So with time, I will lose those languages because there was nobody to.
You didn't continue.
Speaking. Yeah, so
practice.
Naturally, I lost them. And still, I found out like maybe 10 years later, people in my house could speak those languages. But so it was like a sponge. The kids just soak them. And funny thing today, earlier in the day, I was playing. I have on YouTube. There's this a Ram Sam Sam song, and my daughter just picked on it, and so now she sings it from the beginning to the end and dances to it. And then after that, YouTube just played a different song in English, and then she switched to that and sang it in English. And then a pop song came up, a Nigerian pop song, and she was singing it. So I was watching, so I was like, oh, she just did 3 different songs in like 3 different languages.
Amazing.
And
So she grows up trilingual.
So yeah, she was in her former daycare that she was attending before the pandemic, before the lockdown. Though she had stopped going there, they were actually speaking Spanish to her there. So she was already picking up Spanish.
There.
So, but just from music, she's already picking up different languages.
Yeah.
So kids they just soak it up.
Exactly.
And if you just allow them, and I don't have to worry about speak English only, because no matter what, she will learn English.
Yeah,
There's
exactly.
English everywhere. So
yeah, exactly.
you don't have
You're
to.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I can already see the signs and the seeds of education being sowed in you early on in life. But let's jump to a more fun part of your childhood. What would you consider your favorite childhood memory?
My favorite childhood memory. I mean, to begin with, I was born in Munich, but when I was 3, my parents moved to the countryside. As I said, I grew up in a little village. And I think what I liked the most was I'm a free spirit. So we were able to really go around. We were a lot by ourselves. And when I say we, I have a brother and a sister. My sister was only 1 year younger, is only 1 year younger than me. So we were very free. We went to fishing to the lake, or we went to the neighbor's house, to the farmers. Like, we participated in everything. So I think, and also there was one outstanding person. And when you say my favorite memories, is like that she was kind of like my grandmother, and she was the most loving person on earth. She was like a single lady who always welcomed us, who bought us all the candies we wanted. She played with us, and she was just such a good soul. So I have a lot of great memories from my childhood. Yeah, I had a happy childhood.
Was she your blood relation?
No.
Okay. So.
No, she was like kind of my grandmother in this village. She was not related
the village
to me.
grandma.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. I love those kind of people.
Yeah. No, and I like also thinking back and years later, it was just amazing for me to see how much love. She never raised her voice once. She was always in a very good mood, and she was so welcoming to us and gave us so much, like all this experience, like later on kicked in later on. Let's put it this.
The kind of experience that. You
as a child, you don't think about it so much.
You don't value it then. You don't see the value right then. But years later, you come to appreciate it.
You see the value, and this is why we loved her to begin with. But later on, you're like, wow.
Yeah, it gains more.
Yeah, and you have like an admiration, and also like I'm very humble and grateful, to have had her in my life.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I think in every culture and every part of the world, there's always somebody like that.
That's true. Yeah. Absolutely right.
There's always someone like that.
Yeah.
It's lovely.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what I was listening to. I think it was a book. Was it a book? Or maybe it was an audio book, but there was something that I consume a lot of podcasts and audio books and stuff. So sometimes even YouTube videos. So sometimes they start mixing up in my head. And there was a family. Oh, I think it was Toni Morrison's the documentary that's on Hulu about Toni Morrison when her family moved from where was she in the South to was it Cleveland? They moved to Ohio. I'm trying to remember where they moved to. And they met immigrants. The community had lots of immigrants from Eastern Europe and a whole bunch of other places. And so it was blacks and Eastern Europeans. But they had something like that. I think she described something like that in that community. Like how they started mixing up. There were Russians and people, Ukrainians and people like that, Polish. And I think she may have mentioned something like that too. In that but it kind of sounded like a community that had something like that. It was a close-knit community. It just came to my mind. So there was this video that I watched. I think I watched this video before I even decided to have. Before I even thought about becoming a parent, and it was now I'm gonna mess up the word, even though I'd asked you about the word before we started recording. Achtung.
Yeah, Achtung.
Achtung.
Yeah.
Okay, I did better.
Yeah.
Achtung baby on Google Talks.
Okay.
So the lady who was talking about this, she's an American and. She raised, I think she got to stay in Germany for a while. I can't remember what took her there with her family, and she raised her child over there. And she was talking about raising her children in Germany, and she titled her Google Talks, Achtung Baby. And that was the first time I was like, oh, wow, no wonder my spouse is a lot different. Like, wow, I see why you Germans are... Hey, you're kind of cool. Oh, okay. I thought Germans would be like, the stereotype I had of Germans were like, would be like communist type of picture and strict to the books. But no, it was like this free spirit attached to a whole lot of Germans that I kept running into, even when I was in the Middle East. And I met a German at a bar who kept buying me drinks, and we were all cool. We had a great chat, and I was like, why are you so cool? I wasn't expecting this from a German. And I was wearing a German soccer shirt. And we just had a great chat and talked. And I was like, that's not what I was expecting from a German. I thought, and when I watched that video of the Achtung baby, and she talked about how the German school system were and all that, not that there's not any problems, but just in general, how the system works. And I was like, oh, wow, okay. It sounds like this is the kind of place I would like to raise baby.
So this movie or whatever you watched, so the content was
it's like a TED Talk, but Google has their own version.
Okay.
So it tends to be like an hour or some. The shorter versions are like 30 minutes. So she was this Achtung baby is specifically about the German school system, but from an American perspective of raising their child in Germany.
Okay.
So actually, I thought about sending it to you before this interview, but it just escaped my mind.
Yeah. Okay.
And so that's why I was thinking about that. I wrote it down and then I forgot. Yeah. So I was like, so you've never heard of that term, Achtung baby, before?
I did. No, okay. I did never like watch that, or I have never heard it. No.
Okay. I'll pause and bring that up later on because I have a question that I'll tie it into. But I just wanted to know if that terminology, Achtung baby, is...
No, it sounds kind of dangerous. Achtung means like, be careful, baby.
Oh, yes. No, I remember.
Like, be careful. Like,
because she talked about how... she was freaking out when she saw her, took her children to the playground. And she noticed that other Germans just let their children play. Yeah. But she was like the only person shouting, be careful.
No, that's true. Yeah. Germans are much more... Yeah,
they're more free. Go play, fall down, learn your lesson, figure it out.
That's true.
But she was like the only person screaming up and down. What are you doing? Oh my God, are you hurt?
That's true. Yeah, I had this discussion a lot when I had my son, and people would always compare and see like, how do you raise your child, or what is the difference between Germans and Americans, right? And it's true. Yeah.
So your childhood days, you had that free. That's part of the free spirit.
Oh yeah.
That's where you got your free spirit from.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so. Yeah.
All right.
And it's also natural, right? You are a free spirit or not. I mean, I also have I don't know. Some people don't need it so much. I am like that. I like to be free. Yeah.
Because I just want to know if it was attached, it was more common in a region of Germany or.
I think, I mean, it's also because it's different in a village than in a big city, of course, right? Because you can let your kids roam free if you want, so like much more in a village than you can do that in a city.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's what I thought about my own son a lot. I'm like, wow, I mean, he grows up so much different than I do, you know, and I wish I could let him, he's 10 now, and he still doesn't go to school by himself, right? Which what I did already when I was 6, just turning 6, I was by myself. But on the other hand, and it's just like the city doesn't allow that, you know, there's too many things which prevent me from letting him walk off. There are too many cars, too much traffic, maybe also still too many crazy people. If he would be by himself, you know, you never know. You're in a big city. And on the other hand, I'm like, he's not as free as I am, but he grows up with like so much like a bigger picture of the world because of the diversity we have here in Brooklyn, right? I mean, he's able to see things from very early on, which I've never seen until I was an adult. And I think that adds also so many more layers to his perception of the world than what he could never experience being in this village in Germany. Yeah, exactly.
So there's two ways of always looking at it.
Yeah.
So taking you back to Germany, did you ever work with kids early in your life?
Did I ever work with kids?
Yeah.
Let me think. I mean, I was always surrounded by kids because I had a younger sibling. My brother is 8 years younger, so we took care of him. I had friends, you know, also in this little community. She had also like 3 younger brothers. We were always surrounded by kids. And I worked, I didn't really work with kids, but I worked in an institution for people with challenges mentally and physically, but they were older. And I also did an apprenticeship as a nurse at one point. So I always worked with people, if you want so, but not with kids before now.
Oh, so you already started, you already had practice early from life. And going the social worker route was a little bit pointing you to your future direction.
Yeah, like just gathering experience. Yeah, I think I was always also very curious, and I didn't know for a long time what exactly. You know, I'm also very open-minded when it comes to like people ask me a lot of times, what do you want to do? And I'm like, I can imagine doing so many things. I'm not just stuck at like one thing. I mean, which is, I admire some people who know like, oh, I want to become whatever, a photographer or a doctor, you know. I never had that.
I wasn't that type who could pinpoint from day one. Well, at one point I thought I was when I said I wanted to be a priest.
Yeah. Oh, wow, you wanted to be a priest.
Yeah, I was like 7 or 8, and then I said I wanted to be a priest, and my mom was like, that's good, you won't get married. I said, what? I love women.
So then your career was done.
That ended real quick. Even at 8 years old, I already figured out that there might be some womanizing spirits available in me back then, and I was like, I love women. My mom was like, what? My mom was like, happy, because we're Catholics, and I was like, wait, what? No marriage? How's that gonna work? You give your life, you get married to God. Nah, that's all right.
Gone.
No.
No, and I think also you can do a lot of things in your life. It's just important that you love what you do, you know. And this was always the case.
That's what I should have been told.
Right?
You gotta love it.
Yeah, you have to love what you're doing, and this is what I always did. No matter what I did, you know.
Yeah, but the stuff I kept loving was the stuff that family didn't. They always told me like, nah, it's not cool stuff. Yeah, like after I watched my first Olympics, I was like, wow, I want to run the 100 meters, the 400 meters, and they were like, what? Only dropouts do that kind of stuff. I was like, why? But they're marching for their country, waving the flag. You see them?
Yeah.
That look cool. I'm like, no. So they had a family meeting. They actually did that. Had a family meeting, and everybody in the family is like, no, only people who can't make it to college
Oh, really? They
go represent. And this was like, what, 1990 or 91? And then, and even when I said I want to be a soccer player, same thing. And then like, I think it was 99, and I'm listening to the radio, sports radio, and they're talking about the highest paid players in the world. And then the highest paid player was Del Piero, 90,000 pounds per week. And one of the people who was at the family meeting was like, didn't you want to be a soccer player? What happened to you? You look at that guy getting 90,000 pounds a week. You could be getting, I'm like, really? You forgot that meeting where you guys cussed me out and killed that dream? Only dropouts. Only dropouts get to be soccer players. Now, yeah.
that is funny.
Yeah, so as soon as they had people were making good money, like, oh, yeah, what about you?
Yeah.
I'm like,
Too late.
About that.
Yeah.
I was already 18. So when did you start to think about leaving Germany, and what was the final trigger that made you move?
I left Germany, I think, in 2007. I studied law, and I was just about to apply for a new university because there were I wanted to study law and economy combined. And I had a friend who worked in this photographer office, and I wanted to, just also go abroad and also have a new experience. And I never tried to become even though I studied law, my goal was never to become a lawyer or a judge or anything. I just thought what I liked about law is that it's like in your life every day. You go to a store, whatever. So it's just makes you also understand the world better. And I think what I liked about it too, and this comes back to me not knowing really what exactly I want to do or what I can do, but I can do multiple things, is it allows you to be in a wide field, right? And combining it with economy. I always thought I would like to become a manager or something. So there was this opportunity that I was invited to do an internship in this photographer agency. This is how I came to New York. And I planned to stay there for 3 months. Yeah, I actually never left. So after
New York does that to us.
Yeah. So after my 3 months were over, my boss actually asked me if she offered me a job, right? She said, I really want you to stay. We need you here. I offer you a job. Don't go back to Germany. And then I just heard from my university where I applied to that they also accepted me. And I was like, what should I do now? Should I go back or should I stay here? And then I was like, well, when do I get a job offered in New York again? So maybe I just do that first. And that's how I decided to stay here.
So our good friend, our good mutual friend, threw a question. I said I should ask you this question.
Now I'm curious what she's going to ask. Yeah.
So what did you bring from Germany to the US when you were moving to New York with you?
Or what I brought?
Yeah. Something that's like made in Germany or something specific to Germany.
I mean, when I first come, I didn't think of that. So I just brought my suitcase. I had 1 or 2 suitcases. That's how I came here.
So no medicine, toothpaste?
No,
nothing specific?
No, that I did later, I have to say, once I lived here, and what I do to that day when I go back to Germany, I bring my shower gel with me,
Oh.
because it's like 99 cents compared to here you pay like $6 to $7 or $8, $9.
Oh, really? So
Oh,
it's,
yeah.
it's cheaper over there.
Oh, it's really cheap. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. There's this market which is called the M market, which has it's kind of like do and read,
Yeah.
but it's very it has such great products and much cheaper. So I would bring that. But
Oh.
I didn't bring anything from Germany in the beginning because I didn't think that I would miss anything here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So on your arrival,
Yeah.
first time in New York, what was the first culture shock that hit you?
The first culture shock. I mean, the thing is, I think when you come to your first time in New York, I mean, I lived in downtown Manhattan back then, and I thought that all the buildings, I mean, what shocked me was like in what conditions there are sometimes, be it just little things, like the heaters. Yeah, my heat, I had like a steam pipe which would make noise all night long, like cling, 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 like constant. And I was like, what is that? And like, that's the heat. I was like, really? What's going? You just imagine this big city, which is like, high end, and you see all these images. And then when you're here, you learn that it's also very different. I mean, of course, it depends where you live or what, sources you have. But if you're just a normal person coming to New York, it's pretty tough.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not that easy.
Especially if all you have as an image is just from the movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a whole lot that will
It's
surprise
not gonna
you.
last
Yeah,
for very
yeah,
long
that's
if you really have to make your life here. Yeah, it's really, but that's what I also like. I mean, I think I like to be challenged, and this is why I'm still here, and I love that city. It has
Yeah,
also,
I love this city.
Yeah,
But you'll be challenged. You're right.
yeah,
That's the right
absolutely. Yeah,
way of saying it.
yeah,
So you started off working in the art world, and then you moved into the diplomatic world,
yeah.
which is something that you don't normally get to hear, or you don't. It's rare to hear people say something like that. So how did that happen?
I mean, there happened some things in between. I mean, I worked as a photographer agent. I met my husband. I was pregnant and I had my son. So I actually stayed home for 2 years after that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And during this time when I stayed home, I started also a preschool. That's when I started working with kids. I had like a meeting group for German-speaking moms because it was important for me to raise him bilingual. So he also, and I only talked German to him in the beginning. And then I started a German preschool during this time. But then at one point I was like really done staying home and I wanted to do something else. And I saw this job offer from the German mission. And since I studied law and I have a background in law, like actually I applied not at the German mission, I applied at the German consulate. And this is how I got in there.
That's cool.
And, I was also interested, of course, because it's about international relationships. It, of course, also brought me back to my German roots. So, like, there were multiple factors which made me think that back then, which were attractive to me to apply for this job.
So you went from the diplomatic world and then back to the preschool and decided that you're going to expand from just a preschool and make it a bigger project and, full time. You're going full time into this.
Yeah, it didn't plan that really in the beginning, but it was like, so I started building a community and more people came. And since I organized that preschool at first, people were like, there's no school in New York City, and there's only German. There were already 2 German preschools existing in Brooklyn, actually. But I started a third one, which was more like co-op based. So we worked a lot as parents also in that preschool. And then people were always like, I don't know why, but they thought that I would be the right person to do that. So they were like, why don't you start a school? And I was like, how would I start a school, right? How do you do this? And over the years, I always looked into that. So when I started also working at the German mission to the UN, I went to Berlin and I actually spoke to some people there, and I'm like, listen, there's a huge German community there. There's no German school in New York City. How can we start a school? And they were like, and I was like, I know that there's German schools abroad, so how do I do that? And they said, well, you just have to do it by yourself. There's certain steps you have to do, but you have to organize it. And I didn't have an educational background.
Yeah.
So it happened that I met back then also through the German mission. Like there was one of my colleagues who had a friend who traveled to New York, and she said, you know what? I have a friend who is an educator. She worked in many schools abroad, for German schools abroad. She just came back to Germany, and she said she wants to open a school in New York City. Do you know who she could talk to whom she could talk? And then he said, I have a colleague who's like up there, like she's like 1 floor above, and she has a parent community, and she also wants to start a German school. And this is how I met my partner back then for starting, the co-founder of the first German school in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
And then that's how the journey began, right? So then we met for the first time, and I said, I have so and so many kids. So we were like, where do we start that school? So we didn't have a location, we didn't know what to do, but I started looking into the legal stuff. So we put all the things together. We had the community together, and then we had our first meeting in May 2014.
Oh.
We did like an info session. We said like, we want to start a German school. There were like, I think 50, 60 parents attending, and they're like, when do you open? We said, we we will open in September if we find a building. And everyone was like, you can never do that. Starting a school takes at least 2 years and so on. Then it happened that in this session we had, there was one person who was a member of Union Temple. Union Temple is a Jewish congregation on Grand Army Plaza.
Oh, yeah.
They have a huge building there.
It sounded familiar.
And he said to us, listen, in Union Temple, there's a 5th floor, which has already a CFO for a school, which what you need, to move in as a school. And he's like, I can put you in contact. And we were like, wow, this would be so amazing, just right across from the park, from Brooklyn Museum, everywhere, like we everything there. And the first German school being in a Jewish temple. This was just something we couldn't imagine, and it happened. Yeah. So we opened in September.
That's beautiful. Wow.
And this is just
So
how
your law degree came in handy.
Yeah.
And your co-founder, everything just
and also
worked at the right time.
Yeah, and this is the thing, like pieces come together sometimes, as you said earlier. You work maybe towards a certain goal, or you do your job. And I had this in mind with the school, but I didn't know that pieces would, like everything would come together at one point. But when I saw the chance, I of course took it. I was like,
well, also you're building a community. Earlier on.
Oh yes, of course. Yeah, it's a long process. Yeah.
Because if you had never created that community right from the beginning, it wouldn't. You would have had to go individually.
It's impossible to do that.
Start looking for that information yourself, and then you probably would have still been trying to set up the school like 5 years later. On your own.
Yeah.
But when you have a community to tap from, it's a lot easier to find. The information can even come to you. You don't even have to go look for the information all the time. Yeah.
And also the community was so supportive, and they helped us a lot, of course. And this is also what I love about the United States compared to Germany. Like if I would have stood there and said in Germany, I want to do a school, everyone would like, how would you do that? German people are very critical also of everything you do. Whereas people here like, wow, this is an amazing idea. How can we help you? What do you need? You know, and then all these people come together and I was like, wow, this is amazing. And this is what I like so much about the US also, that you have this sense of community, and maybe also especially in Brooklyn.
Oh yeah, Brooklyn and community. New York in general.
Yeah, New York in general, exactly.
That's great to know.
So this is how it all started, yeah.
So, one of my favorite documentaries that I watched on Deutsche Welle, because I watch a lot of Deutsche Welle.
Deutsche Welle, yeah.
It's Afro in Germany, and it taught me a lot about diversity in Germany and a lot of the misconceptions that exist about Black people in Germany and German history. And I was like, wow, you know, people only think like Black people started existing in Germany during colonialism and that, but there have been Black people in Germany way before that, way, like according to that documentary, for over 400 years. Excuse me. So, but when it comes to your school, how do you approach diversity, and how's like the representation of diversity amongst the students?
Our goal, and this is also being said, like being a school in Brooklyn. And I would always rather, and we are always thinking about the name because it's called German School Brooklyn, right? And we always thought this Brooklyn is like our main element of representing also the diversity, which we have here. And this is so important also for the school, right? That we bring in everyone who is interested in education, or in, let's top it like in bilingual education. And I think we have a great diversity. I mean, in our third year, we had 96 students, and there were 21 other languages spoken by kids besides German and English, which are our teaching languages.
Nice.
This is, and I think that was always the beauty of that school, which brings, of course, a lot of challenges also, because, you know, everyone comes from a different place, has a different culture, but also the thing is, and I think this is especially also when you start in a young age, there's so much potential to teach kids, not just to learn with each other, but from each other. And this is what we really have tried to do, to integrate our families. Like, we had families come in and, you know, talk about their religion, talk about their culture, to make it really also more, how you say, like, real and visible for children, not just reading books, you know, just bring in. That's what we tried to bring in our community. We also started something which is called Global Community Meetings, where we talk about race, we talk about different subjects, and we offer that to parents, especially if especially the parents who don't live here yet, but come in from Germany. There's very often a lack of understanding. Like, I wouldn't. For the different cultures, because there's also no experience, right? And no education in that sense. And this is where we're trying to really bring everyone together. I mean, most of our families are locals. So these are families who live in Brooklyn, and most of our families do have a German-speaking part, even though there's an increased number of parents or students who do not have any German background.
Oh, nice.
And now also, you know, we bought a property in January to an additional property to grow the school. And this is also in an area in Crown Heights, and we will really try to bring in more local people from this area.
Oh, okay, cool.
And
That's
it's not required to have a German background or that you speak German if you come to our school.
Yeah, I was about to ask if you know, people have said to you like, oh, you know, they see the word German and like, oh, that don't include me. I don't need to go there. Like, you know, have you ever met someone like that who's like, I don't feel like I belong just because they see the word German in the school name, or my kid doesn't belong there because
Yeah, that's the misleading
Yeah.
part, but the thing was also, and this is what we are working also on this, how we can solve this problem. The thing was, when we started the school, and it was we just said, let's call it German School Brooklyn, because of course, we also, in the beginning, we attracted most people who spoke German, and we knew there was no German school in New York City.
Yeah.
There's just one in White Plains. And it was basically also it saved us so much money, because everyone who was interested in our school would just also go to the internet and you type in German school and we popped up, and this is how people found us. But later on, we realized that we really have to change it, and we are also in the middle of doing that, maybe add another slogan, a school for all New Yorkers, or all just also, how do you say, emphasize this Brooklyn part more. I don't know.
Okay.
We haven't found the right solution yet.
It's a work in progress.
Yeah, exactly.
But you're aware. The awareness is there. That's something.
Yeah.
So, so with COVID-19 happening, it's affected everybody. How have you guys dealt with the lockdown? How have you been able to keep the kids learning and involved and not left behind?
Yes. I have to say, our teachers, and this is something which I really appreciate, they're so committed and dedicated. I mean, we closed, I think, 2 days before all other schools officially closed, the public schools. And over the weekend, we developed not a full, but like a remote learning program. It really took us a weekend. So the week after we closed on Thursday. On Monday, we started our remote learning program. And of course, there were many challenges which come with it. Teachers, not all of the teachers enjoy dealing with technology. Yeah. Or it's also a very different concept it's very challenging for kids and teachers to teach in front of a computer instead of being with the kids and being close together, So, but I think, and this is also what I've heard from most of our parents, our kids learned a lot. And I can tell you also from my own experience with my son, because he's also a student in our school. It, of course, depends also on the age groups. It was maybe easier for older kids to adapt because they're also more independent, and also for parents, because I could tell my son, your Zoom lesson is at 8 o'clock, just go on there. Whereas little kids who are maybe 5 or something need a lot of support from their parents. And it's not as easy, but we found a way to really teach each grade. And we had like a model of Zoom lessons, live Zoom lessons, but also videos which could be played. So teachers would record videos and they were sent to parents, and we sent them also some work to do, some ideas. We sent them a schedule, how to structure your day. We really tried to help them through this time, but it is, of course, very challenging for everyone, and everyone is like in a different situation.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I was listening to another one of my favorite podcasts, and they interviewed a teacher in Virginia recently, and she was talking about how she also had the problem of teaching with technology. Yeah, and I think she taught high schoolers, and so they in her county. She's a public school teacher, and in her county, they had the problem of, I guess it was the rules they had was that the kids did not have to show their faces for the Zoom calls. It's part of the privacy thing, and not to like embarrass the kids.
The kids,
yeah. So like in case in case someone's not like from well-to-do. Background, something like that. So you couldn't tell if they were there or not. So you could just say they logged in. So that's how she felt. But I understood that point of view, and the interaction didn't feel
Right.
natural. Yeah, but I understood the school's reasons for saying the kids shouldn't show their faces.
Yeah.
But at the same time, yeah, there was things that made that interaction like but it felt like these were the guidelines that they used for the implement for the beginning of during the lockdown. But those were mistakes that were made. But now they've changed all that going into
Okay.
because they decided not to open for going into the fall. But she mentioned the mistakes that were made, and then they've changed a whole lot of things going forward. And it was nice to hear. Not nice, but it was it was good to hear that. That okay, this is what she humanized it by hearing her side of things, the struggles, and hearing the student side of things.
Yeah.
She was able to relate to that. So she even wanted to go in class
Yeah.
to teach in person because she said she struggled so much
Yeah.
with the technology.
Yeah. At home also. Yeah.
Yeah, so hearing the teacher say that she struggled, I never thought of it because I was just like, yeah, give them technology, switch everybody to technology.
No.
Being that guy, like I'm all about safety, everybody should be safe. Then I was like, oh yeah, people will struggle.
Absolutely.
It's normal for someone to struggle if you've never done it before.
No.
Yeah,
and also, I mean, what teachers experienced also, I mean, some teachers did very well, like, and others had problems because also all of a sudden you were in everyone's living room.
Yeah.
Right? Parents are watching, you don't know it's like also, I mean, not that we have something to hide, but it's a very different feeling than being in a classroom with your students. Yeah.
Yeah, and if the parent is standing over the student, watching the teacher, the student's interaction with the teacher will become different too.
Yes.
Because if the student is just interacting with the teacher alone, there's a different vibe to that communication.
And also you're not being able, before a teacher, students would sit there or do group work or whatever, and the teacher comes and is close to them, like supports them. All of these little things, they're gone.
All those details, those little
stuff.
So
you have to completely...
and nothing beats one-on-one interaction.
Yeah.
We forgot about all those
little things,
and everybody is just and I still don't support reopening schools. I'm just making that clear, but hearing that interview made me
sad.
Yeah, made me sad, and it made me see a whole lot of things from a human perspective and say, yes, now I understood the school side of things.
Yeah.
And then hearing there was this professor in St. Andrews University. She has a paper that I haven't gone through the whole paper, and she was actually talking about 1 in 10 students, 1 in 10 children have lost contact with teachers in France since 6 weeks into the lockdown. 1 in 6 children in LA within 2 weeks of the lockdown. I haven't seen the statistics for New York, but they've all lost contact with the teachers, haven't been able to reach the children.
The children, that's
and
terrible.
There's still that problem. This is the developed world. So when you go into the underdeveloped world, then it becomes a larger number of children who have lost an amount of time that will never be regained when it comes to learning.
Yeah, and they have kind of been left out.
Yeah. So there's all these details, and there's all these things that that makes the whole situation that we are currently in, that makes me pause. And then there's places like Taiwan that kept schools open throughout the height of the pandemic, but it did things so differently, and there was it's not like they were careless. And then places like Israel kept schools open and did the complete opposite, and it backfired. So it's not a one-size-fits-all thing. But like one of my favorite guests on my podcast, Professor Shafi Ahmed, has always said, we can learn from others and apply the lessons to ourselves.
Yeah.
So I always
that makes absolute sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So going into the fall, are you reopening, or what's the plan?
We have plans for everything. So we have a full remote plan. We have a plan for a hybrid model, which is, well, the hybrid model, basically, the content is that you bring in certain groups of students on certain days.
Okay.
And then we have, of course, the model which we had before COVID happened, that we bring in everyone. But that is probably not going to happen this year, I think. So we are fully prepared for each model.
All right.
We are making, it's really, really not an easy decision, because there's so many factors which come in, and so many, we basically have to reevaluate the whole situation day by day.
Mm-hmm.
In addition, we are just facing what I told you earlier, that we had a water damage in our building.
Yeah,
which
yeah.
doesn't allow us to come back right now.
Yeah.
Which makes it also easier, because the decision is already, we start fully remote. And I think that will also give us the time to really observe how others doing, because the guidelines we received from the Department of Education are, in many things, I think, I'm a little bit angry about that, because it leaves the schools alone, right? The decision was not made by the higher authorities yet to close the schools. Cuomo gave it to de Blasio. Now we're waiting for de Blasio.
Oh, he gave it back to him?
He said, schools can be open, but now also the districts and the superintendents have to decide whether they open it in New York City or not.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. This is also something which is not, the last word is not spoken yet, until September 8th. So we're also waiting for him to make an announcement.
I guess, is that why, what's his name, resigned? The health secretary?
Don't ask me.
For New York, I think.
Could be. Could be. I don't.
It just seems this back and forth.
Yeah. On the one hand side, and it's also hard, from a parent perspective, it's different. Our parents want their kids back to school, I have to tell you. So they're most of them don't want to start remote. They want their kids back to school, and I can also see why, because it's the social interaction is missing. It's really hard, to be stuck in this situation. On the other hand, I feel that it's also, nothing really has changed yet, right? We don't have a quick test. We don't have a vaccine yet. So bringing all the students back, there is measurements we have, which we have to take, such as the social distancing, wearing masks, and I'm hoping that this is preventing everyone from getting sick, but there's no proof for that.
Well, because they're still kids, so at first I was thinking about myself and Verena. We thought about my daughter, and and I was like, you know what? I don't think the social thing is important right now. We take her out with a mask, and she will recover. I don't think, but one other parents say, the social issue for their kids. I'm like, I don't know. I don't really see that as the issue.
We're in a pandemic still.
Yeah, the pandemic is still there. There are children, and children gonna be children. Yeah, are they gonna keep their hands away from themselves? They're gonna wash their hands every 2 seconds, and they're gonna keep their mask on 24/7. I don't know.
No, and this is also what, for me as a person, it's always, it's hard to speak from a school's perspective and a personal perspective, but
I'm speaking as a parent.
As a parent,
Those are the things I look at.
No, and also from a school's perspective, what makes me sad is also that all of our, philosophy, for instance, that we are hands-on, we love group teaching, differentiated teaching, all of these things are basically gone, because what you have to do now is you have to put a table up and go back to traditional teaching, because no one is supposed to interact, really. The teachers ideally standing in front of there, we are wearing masks, and kids have to listen. And of course you can try to make it more interactive and everything, but it's not going to be the same as it was before. So it's also a very different style of teaching once we come back to that.
Yeah, I don't think we'll ever return back to normal, even after a vaccine is available.
Yeah, could.
Because I'm not taking off my mask. I'm going to be wearing masks. That's just, yeah, my family's going to be wearing masks.
Yeah.
I'm going full. A bunch of Asian countries always wear masks. They've been wearing masks before this virus came up. So, yeah, I'm adopting that habit from now on. So, yeah, I think that's the way to go. And
Yeah.
yeah, I think because was it Vietnam? Vietnam just had their first death. Was it 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago? Uh, compare that, and if you look, all they've done is just same thing they've been doing for years. And so, if we just had habits like that, we could have been ahead of
Of many.
the pandemic long time ago. So,
I
and we
know.
could have actually, so schools could have been open.
Yeah.
But some people prefer to worry about sports. But anyway, that's them. But you're not. The problem is not you. It's the government and
No, it's the
people.
overall situation in this country, especially. I mean, other countries are far ahead. They have taken also all the actions needed, and we are very far behind.
Oh, way behind.
Way behind.
Way
yeah,
behind.
Yeah.
Oh man. But anyway, let's go to something fun.
Yeah.
We've been on the depressing side enough. So I haven't asked you two questions that I always ask quite early in the episode. So let me see, which one should I go with first? All right, let's go with music. So you've been in New York now for a while, but you started in Bavaria. So when it comes to music, where does your heart belong to?
To hip hop.
Oh wow, that was straight up. Wow, that is rare. Most guests always have their heart somewhere, like everywhere, and all this. Hip hop.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite artist, or a couple? Or
A couple, yeah.
all right, give us names.
Do I have to?
Give us a few. Don't worry, you can give a few so that your favorite artist won't come after you. I vouch. It's my fault. Anybody wants to come after Kathrin, you can.
No, because I can't say all the artists I really like.
Just give us three.
No, I mean, from the old school, I like Missy Elliott. a
Ooh,
lot.
that's a great one there.
I like, this is not really hip hop, but what I really like also is like, it's more chilling, it's Burna Boy.
Oh,
I
Burna
like-
Boy.
yeah.
Yeah, he's on fire right now.
And then I like Most Def.
Now you got some old school tastes.
And what else? I mean, I like so many of them.
I got a funny story about
Yeah.
Missy Elliott.
Yeah.
So this was back in Nigeria, and one of my nieces, my second niece, she, I was in a very conservative religious family, and she, so my second niece, she was like, she had discovered Missy Elliott, and I think it was Get Your Freak On. She was rapping. She decided to rap too, but she didn't really know the lyrics. She didn't understand but she was, I think, how old was she then? Was she 12? Probably 11, 12, between 10 and 12. And her mom is like hardcore evangelical, but her mom wasn't nearby, so she's rapping, get your freak on, and she's, no, she's going. And I was like, wow, I did not know I did not realize that you could rap, but this is impressive. But my only word of advice is, do not do this in front of your mama. She's going to kill you. That's just all I'll say. But I'm clapping for you. I'm impressed. Like, really good job. Like, she's like, oh, I love Missy Elliott. Yeah, she's good. Oh. All right. Yeah. But don't do this in front of your mama. You won't like because much earlier in my life, I sang this song by Inner Circle, Girl, I Want to Make You Sweat.
Oh, yeah.
They used to play it on national TV every day, like 7 p.m. They play that song every day. So, typical kid, I started singing a song. I was like maybe, I think I was like 10, 11 years old. And I'll be singing that song, Girl, I Want to Make You Sweat. Sweat till you can't sweat no more. And I did not even know what the lyrics meant, but hey, I'll be singing it. And there's a large age gap between myself and my siblings. I'm the youngest kid. And man, I was walking past my elder sister singing that song, and my elder sister just turned, and she was staring at me, and I'm like, "Girl, I want to make you sweat." And next thing I was like, "Pow!
Slap.
Go kneel down and tell Jesus that you're sorry." I'm like, "What did I do? Why would Jesus? Why am I telling Jesus that I'm sorry?" I start crying. I run to my mom.
Yeah.
My mom's like, "What happened now?" I'm like, "My sister beat me. What'd you do?" I did not do anything. I was just singing. What were you singing? "Girl, I want to make you sweat." So, yeah, that's how I got beat again. Yep. So, all right. So, you've given us your favorite music. Now, you can't be in New York and not have food.
Okay.
Cannot be someone who loves food. So,
Oh my gosh, food. My favorite food. I love all types of food. I mean, this is like, I love Asian food. I love Jamaican food. I love Mediterranean food. That's why I'm here, actually. You know, I don't want to be stuck
the
with.
truth is out.
Yeah, I don't want to be stuck with one type of food. I mean, you know, if it's cooked with like love and
that's New York. You can find food from everywhere.
From everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yeah. And this is what I love so much about this place here too.
So if you had to eat one for the rest of the year, what will it be?
Oh no, really? You
Yeah.
want me to do this?
Yeah, we need you to
One.
betray the others.
This is really hard to say. I mean, really. Maybe I would pick Asian over.
Yeah, we need to zero it down to one.
Oh, you mean one food?
Yeah.
Oh, come on. This is.
I want you to betray
Oh no.
one of the.
I mean,
yeah,
can I be like more? Could I say seafood or like I don't know. I can't imagine eating one type of like one food.
Well, it might be Chinese or Japanese or is it Vietnamese? Which one?
Can I say seafood? Because I like all types of like like even like Japanese, Asian,
Okay, so Asian
like
seafood.
yeah, seafood. Yeah, because that you can make like in every different style. Right?
Yeah, that works.
Yeah.
Oh no, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. That's. I think I was one of those who try to delay my eating of Japanese seafood. I'm not really big on seafood that much, but you know, I finally gave in and tried sushi in 2015.
And
yeah, that.
So what is your favorite food?
Eaten.
If you had to choose one, I want to know now.
I'll answer that question on my 1 year special episode.
Oh, okay. I was expecting some German dish now from you.
Well, I can give you a teaser.
Yeah.
I think my beer is from Germany. Yeah, that's too much. You can blame my in-laws for that. Every time I go to Germany, they always have brand new beer for me. I'm like, what about the beer I drank last time? Like, oh, we saw this one on the board. I'm like, there's like 5 different beers.
Yeah.
I'm like, why don't you, what is beer I drank? Oh, like, yeah, we'll get you that beer. I'm like, ugh, it tastes good anyway. keep it coming. Well, anyway, thank you for coming on the show.
Sure, thank you for having me.
Now, final question that I'd like to ask is something that you would like to leave the audience with. Can be a word of advice. Well, before I get to that, let me just ask one question about the schools.
Yeah.
Well, you know, what are the plans that you have for the future?
Yeah.
You know, with the pandemic and all that. After the pandemic, you know, what's the future like? You know, pandemic aside and all that.
Yeah.
What does the future hold for GSB and GSM?
GSB and GSM. I mean, I would. I have a vision of a school which is there for everyone, you know, which is accessible for all the people who appreciate education. And this is also like, when you ask me saying the last word, I think education is one of the most important things we have, you know. And back then when I started the school, and believe me, it was not easy. I cried a lot sometimes. I'm like, why am I doing this? And I had my other full-time job, and I'm like, because I want to give not just my child, but every child something in their life which no one can take away from them, you know, and which makes them strong and ready for this world. And I hope also that they can contribute to this world with their education and with the experience that we can all come together and create something beautiful.
That's beautiful. And I know you will.
Yeah, I hope so.
I got faith.
Few more hurdles, like, you know, we have to overcome, but I'm also sure I can see it.
We will overcome.
Yeah.
You will. You're on the right path.
Yeah. Thank you for saying
So,
this.
if people want to find you and the school, well, where can they find you?
Still German School Brooklyn on our website. So the location in Brooklyn is unclear for this year, but I'm also about to have an interim location. So we are usually on Union Temple. The new location is on Rogers and Sterling Place, and in Manhattan we are located in Tribeca. Okay. But the website is germanschoolbrooklyn.org or germanschoolmanhattan.org.
All right, I'll plug in the website.
Okay, cool. Thank you. We're actually launching a new website I think in 1 or 2 weeks. So
okay, email me the website. Just send me an email, and
I will.
Before I release the episode, I'll be sure to shoot you an email and make sure I haven't released the episode.
Okay, before
you after
Thank you. Appreciate
the
it.
website.
Appreciate it.
All right. So Dankeschön for
Gerne.
coming on the
Danke
show.
auch.
And thank you all for joining us. Don't forget to share with your friends and loved ones, and see you all in the next episode. And keep the love coming, and give us 5 stars. Thanks for listening to White Label American. If you enjoyed the show, we'll appreciate if you rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcast from. If you have any questions, comments, or have someone who will be a good guest on the show, or you want to be on the show, send us a message at whitelabelamerican@gmail.com. And make sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at White Label American. Thank you for your support.